So Ryan Gosling is in talks to star in Shawn Levy's Star Wars movie. This was an exclusive from The Hollywood Reporter, and this is supposedly a late in the game decision for the movie. So reportedly Levy was going to direct a boy band movie for Paramount that was going to have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in it. But now that this casting is in the works, The Hollywood Reporter notes that this, if this goes through, if Gosling does sign on to this project, that it would expedite the film's production. That it would, because right now it's kind of like in this vague just development stage. There's a good chance it might go into production by like the end of this year, right? Like it would really just speed up the whole process. So Shawn Levy, he's making a Star Wars movie, if you didn't know. So this began development when Levy finished his work directing Deadpool and Wolverine at the end of 2022. And I talked about this, I think I've talked about Levy on this channel before, that, he's an interesting case because he's an industry favorite, despite his movies being generally mediocre, right? But he keeps getting work, and I've always felt he must just have really good skills in the room of like talking to executives, of making them feel heard, and making them just being a personable guy. Because with his track record, even financially, it's not just like, oh, the movies suck, but they make a lot of money. Deadpool and Wolverine, I feel like, is the outlier. His movies typically, he's like behind Night at the Museum. I guess that made some money, but it helps that Deadpool and Wolverine was the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, right? So of course everyone and their mother gets to do a Star Wars movie until it never happens, right? And again, we literally have zero detail. Like, this is like the first thing we've heard about this movie. The only thing we know is that it's meant to be like a standalone film. It's not a trilogy. It's not necessarily tied into pre-existing characters that we already know and have a relationship with, and we understand their backstory. It's meant to be its own thing. So a little bit about Ryan Gosling, as if you don't know who that is. I found out he's Canadian. I did not know, at least he was born in Canada. He's in his mid-40s. He's in a very interesting filmography. It's very diverse, right? So he's done rom-coms, he's done dramas, he's done comedies, he's been in science fiction, he's been in thrillers. He's really run the gamut of different, musicals, if you want to count La La Land. Like, he's really done everything under the sun. His star power has always been there, but I would say he's probably as popular now as he's been since he first came on the scene. I would say really like with The Notebook, kind of being like a heartthrob, if you will, right? He's really popular now because, his role in Greta Gerwig's Barbie from last year was a big pop culture phenomenon, right? The Ken song, all the memes. So his star is burning pretty bright right now, which is good if you're part of the Gosling, team, if you will, right? And the Hollywood Reporter does note, though, that this would be a rare instance where Star Wars cast a major movie star. Now, that being said, they've casted big names before, but typically they are almost always they serve in almost like support or mentor roles. So if you think like the original trilogy, it's like all unknown actors, but then you have like Alec Guinness and you have Peter Cushing, and then the prequels you have like Liam Neeson and Sam Jackson, but they're like not like the main focus really. And spoiler alert, Liam Neeson gets killed off in the first movie, right? Where I guess Gosling could be that, but most likely you would think that he would be like a, like it seems like he would be best suited for like a non-Force character. Like he had kind of, especially from what we've seen from him as of late, he kind of has this sardonic charm that fits like a Han Solo type, like some kind of smuggler or bounty hunter or something like that. And notably, all the things I mentioned before, those were big names, but they weren't movie stars in the way that Ryan Gosling you could consider him a movie star, right? Like Liam Neeson was not on really many magazine covers, the way that Ryan Gosling is, and this would be very different for Star Wars. Not necessarily better or worse, but just different, right? Just something we haven't really seen before. Though the big question is, will this movie even get made, right? So I've done a couple videos on the channel about different Star Wars projects getting announced and canceled, and I always did the obligatory, let me read you all the Star Wars announcements of announced Star Wars films that have yet to come out. I chose not to do that this time just because the list is laboriously long. But again, the fact that this has potential casting, because again, this isn't confirmed, they're in talks. But the fact that this is even in the conversation and it's breaking to the public really helps its chances immensely, right? Because I think about all of these projects that are still in limbo, or they were announced and then got canceled. I don't know if they ever got as far as cast rumors. So that really does bode well for the chances of this thing actually getting made. And again, that detail from Hollywood Reporter seems encouraging. And I'll read you this little blurb from the article. Quote, Gosling's interest and involvement suddenly shifted the Star Wars project into hyperspace. If a deal makes, the project will continue to fly like the Millennium Falcon, becoming not only Levy's next movie, but also the next Star Wars movie to go in production, with cameras potentially rolling this fall, end quote. So again, this went from being a nebulous, in development kind of thing to the point where we might see they might start, shooting this thing in the next 9 months or something, right? So, again, with all of these, I'll believe it when I see it. And again, I'm not like the biggest Ryan Gosling fan. I've always liked him and everything, but as just like an independent observer, this really does, make this film's existence a little more likely. Wow, what an interesting story. I'm sure you have some thoughts about the topic, so comment below, let me know what you think. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really, really helps people find the channel and makes me feel all warm inside. Until next time, I'm Peter Mancuso. Peace out.